he's Mexican. He's 6'2", and he's a Marine. And so just being gay was not, I did not want to be gay and have my dad, like, as my dad.
I was the captain of the baseball team, captain of the football team. I went in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps. My dad was a Marine, and his brothers were Marines. So it was kind of a family thing that we did. So when I saw this weakness in my son, it was very bothersome to me. I would look at EJ and think, oh my gosh, if he's gay, what am I going to do? When he was born, I picked him up, I held him, and I kind of walked away with him while Elizabeth was sitting there in pain and agony, and I just kind of ignored her. But I was so proud that my firstborn was a boy, first of all, that macho Marine dad. I had to name him Edward, which is my name. He just was bright-eyed and ready to go right from the get-go.
I think I was conscious that he didn't really like certain things that I would do. Like, my friend Nina lived with us, and we would call it sisters, and we'd wear like little dresses and play with Barbies and stuff like that.
He wasn't like the typical boys that I had grown up with, so that there was a gap that started to occur there in our relationship.
I think I did a lot in order to deny it and push it away because I just wanted to be accepted by my parents. I just hated school and didn't want to be there. The guys would call you faggot or queer or gay or girl or whatever.
He would come and talk about this kid picking on him or that kid picking on him, and I would get angry with him because I'd feel like he was a pushover for kids. He was a target, and he allowed them to do it.
This started in about 7th or 8th grade. There was just some depression going on, and he was very isolated. He didn't have a lot of friends.
I did a lot of friend searching in 7th grade on. And I'd say the people that were most accepting were the people who did drugs and drank, because whenever you do drugs and drink, you love everybody. And so I felt like when I did that, I was accepted. That was good enough for me. Any sort of acceptance that I could get or any friends I could make doing whatever I did, I would do it.
We went to the medical doctor and he started getting medicine for depression. But we still had not really talked about the issue of him being gay. We never really addressed it.
I figured I couldn't talk to my dad about it, I didn't want to because I already knew what he thought about it.
When EJ came out to me, I really had already known about it. I really had. And yes, it was painful to have EJ tell me that, only because I had always hoped that it wasn't so. I'd always hoped that it was a phase and he'd grow out of it. And it never happened. We started looking in the community actually for a place that would help us. I wanted to talk to another dad like me. I wanted to find out, what did he do? What do you do? I wanted to find out from an experienced dad that was going through the same thing as I was going through at that time or around this time. And I couldn't find anybody.
Then we started looking for a youth group. There was nothing anywhere. And I told him, you know what? We're going to have to start a youth group. And he said, okay.
We started having meetings of friends together. And we actually called our friends, some of our close friends, and said, our son is gay. Most of them already knew it. We talked about the fact that we wanted to do something, not just for EJ, but for lots of kids that are out there. And it started off just as gay teens at first. It actually ended up turning into GLBTQ, which is gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. And the Q is even, in our case, we use it for questioning. So it was anybody.
It's just wonderful. We have a meeting twice a month, and they keep showing up.
And we're helping 50 kids that come to our group every 2nd and 4th of the month for an hour and a half.
We're supposed to be done at 9 o'clock. At 10:30, I have to shoo the kids out. They don't want to go home.
A month and a half or two after EJ had come out, my 16-year-old Evan was talking about having his girlfriend over, and one of the kids said, EJ, when are you going to bring somebody over? And EJ said, I would never think of doing something like that. I wouldn't want to disappoint Dad. I thought about that for a second, and I thought, how unfair. How unfair for my son to feel like he couldn't bring somebody that he's attracted to over. I felt terrible.
When you're with someone, you're proud of being with them and you want to show them to your parents. And I remember thinking, like, never will I ever bring anybody home to meet my dad. Like, that's just out of the question. But, like, for PJ, I think it's worth it. I mean, he's my first boyfriend. I've never had a boyfriend before, and we've been together for, like, a year and a month now.
I said, EJ, it may be a little awkward for me, son, but I'll deal with it because I love you. And I think that was a turning point for my relationship with EJ. As I look back now, I'm not disappointed in my son at all. I'm proud of my son, who he is. I believe with my heart that gay people don't choose to be gay, they just are. No more than I choose to be brown-skinned. It is what it is.
It all came from love, because an unselfish love. Because when you get out of your own self and look at what is EJ going through, how is he being affected? This is your child who is hurting and in pain, who is searching and trying to find himself. How can we not do anything? There was no choice.
And soon after the protests at Stonewall, 40 years ago, the phone rang in the home of a soft-spoken elementary school teacher named Jean Manford. It was 1 in the morning, and it was the police. Now, her son Morty had been at the Stonewall the night of the raids. Ever since, he had felt within him a new sense of purpose. So when the officer told Jean that her son had been arrested, which was happening often to gay protesters, she was not entirely caught off guard. And then the officer added one more thing. And you know, he's homosexual. Well, that police officer sure was surprised when Jean responded, yes, I know. Why are you bothering him? And not long after, Jean would be marching side by side with her son through the streets of New York. She carried a sign that stated her support. People cheered. Young men and women ran up to her, kissed her, and asked her to talk to their parents. And this gave Jean and Morty an idea. And so after that march, on the anniversary of the Stonewall protests, amidst the violence and the vitriol of a difficult time for our nation, Jean and her husband, Jules, two parents who loved their son deeply, formed a group to support other parents and in turn to support their children as well. At the first meeting Jean held in 1973, about 20 people showed up. But slowly, interest grew. Morty's life, tragically, was cut short by AIDS, but the cause endured. And today, the organization they founded for parents, families, and friends of lesbians and gays has more than 200,000 members and supporters. It's made a difference for countless families across America. And Jean would later say, I considered myself such a traditional person. I didn't even cross the street against the light. But I wasn't going to let anybody walk over Morty.
How would you ask parents to deal with the fact that their children have come out of the closet or are gay?
Well, first of all, I accept that fact because as a parent, your first responsibility is to protect your child. It doesn't matter how old you are as a parent and how old your child is, you will always spend that time worrying about your child and protecting that child. So the best thing you can do is support that decision Learn all you can about the issues. Show your support by everything you do with the in the neighborhood, in the community, that you have a gay or lesbian child, and that you love that child, and you will do everything you can to help that child succeed in life in Latvia.
My answer to the parent who has a child that just came out of the closet would be to give the child as much support as possible. It is your child, and she is God's creation, and that's all there is to it. I think the parents is the one that needs to go through that journey of getting rid of her prejudices against gays if it is an issue that, you know, their child is gay.
How long have you known EJ was gay?
Oh, we've known for a long, long time, you know, that my son EJ was gay. And, you know, it's interesting when you're his parents. And we finally had to sit down and talk about it, you know. And I told him, look, I'm going to love you regardless. Just let me know, are you or aren't you? And then finally he just said, yes, I am.
So you initiated it?
Yes, because he wasn't going to come to me with it, you know. And so I think Cookie and I just said, you know what, we should sit him down, because also we want to protect him too, you know. And so I just took him through the birds and the bees talk and make sure, hey, you protect yourself, protect your partner. And then also, what do you think about what your friends and people are going to say once you tell them, or have you told anybody? So at that time, he had really never discussed it with anybody but his two closest friends.
How old was he?
And he had to be about 12, 13 years old, 14 years old, you know. And so it was, I think, a hard conversation only because he was so young, and what do you tell him at that age, and what do you say to him? And so, but other than that, you know, I told him, hey, we are here to support you, man. We're going to love you no matter who you are, what you do. We just want you to love yourself and also make sure that you have all the information. And that's what I wanted to give him, just provide him with advice and guidance.
Did you become a confidant of his as he was coming out more publicly?
Yeah, in a different way. It's interesting. When I showed my support and love for him, and I told him, hey, I'm good with it. Just be you. He went like, because, okay, Dad is okay, you know, because he really wanted to make sure I was okay. He wasn't worried about his mom. He was worried about me. And once I supported him, then he could talk more about it.
Was it because you were such a huge sports star and there was that kind of aura?
Exactly. And I think he was worried about what would I think, am I going to change toward him or something like that. And I love EJ so much. That's my main man. So I told him, I said, nothing has changed. I just want to help you along the way, because a lot of people are going to be happy for you. Then some won't understand. So you have to remember, always talk to me, always talk to your mother, and we'll just help you along the way.
Did he have a tough time?
You know what?
As time went on?
As time went on, I think he really wanted to be out, but he was torn. Okay, should I come out and say I'm gay? Not hold it. But actually, I would have to say that TMZ really helped him. This was a good moment for us as a family, and a greater moment for him. I think now he's just the bubbly kid we knew again, and he's just happy that it is out.
And when he kind of did it, you know, where we were on the street, you know, he did it in a way that was unmistakable, that he wanted to make that statement.
Yeah. You know, Harvey, young people struggle, right? They struggle, especially when you're sitting there and you know you want to tell the world, but he just didn't know how. He just didn't know how everybody else, not his family, because we already knew how everybody else was going to react. So I think He just said, you know what, this is my moment, this is my time. I'm happy to share with the world who I am. And I said, go, EJ, go. You know, I'm behind him 1,000,000%. This is really wonderful for him.
PFLAG is a national organization for LGBT people, their families, friends, and allies. To learn more, please visit pflag.org.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
It gets better.
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 There's hope and there's help.
People are here for you. People who care and understand.
It may be the darkest time in the world for you, but you need to understand that there is hope. There's always hope, and there is always help.
If you or a friend are feeling lost and lonely, there's someone who can help.
It's called the Trevor Project,
a confidential, toll-free, 24-hour suicide hotline for gay and questioning youth.
If you're being bullied in school, you're not alone. Don't give up.
Please talk to your school advisors or call the Trevor Project.
If you want to talk to someone without judgment, call the Trevor Project.
A confidential, toll-free, 24-hour suicide hotline for gay and questioning youth.
There is hope and there is help. Call the Trevor Project.
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 I think there's something wrong with me.
You think too much.
It's dangerous.
Bobby, you're scaring me. What's going on?
He might be homosexual.
He's not. I know if we trust in God, we can get through this. It's curable with His help.
We still love you, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks.
I told you not to do that thing with your arm. It makes you look like a girl.
Accept me as I am, or forget it.
I won't have a gay son.
Then, Mom, you don't have a son.
Fine.
Bobby killed himself. He's gone.
Help me! I said it! Dad, let me out!
Bobby was a good young man, but he was lost.
We all made mistakes, but it's done. He's gone. We're not gonna bring him back!
I need to make peace with this, and I can't. What do you tell people who come here? That homosexuality is okay?
I tell them what I believe to be the truth, that God loves them as they are.
How can God forgive me? Bobby's death was the direct result of his parents' ignorance.